Hey, it's Joseph for Zany62. So, as I'm coming to you today, we have a Operation Warp Speed press conference that just ended. I watched the whole thing and actually did a previous video. But this is what I want to talk about. So, this Operation Warp Speed, which Mike Pence is supposed to be the head of, got pushed aside. And now Donald Trump is taking credit for Operation Warp Speed, and he comes out as the leader of Operation Warp Speed in this presser. And this press conference had less to do with Operation Warp Speed or the COVID-19 vaccine than it did with trying to promote himself. This was like a pseudo mini rally because Donald Trump can't accept the loss that he lost as president in the re-election bid. And what he's doing now is trying to hijack Operation Warp Speed and take credit for things he has nothing to do with. He's taking credit for the Pfizer vaccine when Pfizer themselves said Operation Warp Speed had nothing to do with the Pfizer vaccine. Donald Trump wants to tell you that it did. Who do we believe after 4 years of lies? It's very possible that many countries have put a fund in for a distribution of a vaccine, but not for the funding or the research of the vaccine. And so to mislead the public is continued, it's the MO of the Trump administration. And you think about the actual name of Operation Warp Speed. I think from the last time I looked, Warp Speed is a made-up term. It's a science fiction term. There is no such thing as warp speed. But let's put that aside. You know, it's almost a misleading word that you can try to give a false sense of anticipation that we're doing this and we're doing it in warp speed. And if that was the case, it would have been done already. And first of all, there would be no need for an Operation Warp Speed if you took action back in January of 2020 when you found out that this virus was headed to the U.S. All this Operation Warp Speed could have been averted and could have handled, and we could have been the leading force in the world about stopping and effectively trying to create a vaccine for this virus. Again, Operation Warp Speed presser was just a mini rally for Donald Trump to tell you how great he is. He even brings up the stock market. The stock market of Wall Street reacted positively in the last week or so because Joe Biden got elected as president. It's statistically been proven. Forget about statistics. It's been proven by the experts in Wall Street that said that the win for Donald Trump gave a positive effect on the stock market and affected positively the world stocks because the rest of the world was looking at what was going to happen in the U.S. elections. The fact that Donald Trump is no longer there, Joe Biden is the newly elected president, that made the stock market go up. Donald Trump doesn't want to tell you that, but he wants to take credit for the latest results this past week, claiming how the stock market is up, and it's because of him. It's not because of him. Pfizer finding a vaccine has nothing to do with Operation Warp Speed. It has nothing to do with President Trump. And in fact, when some of the doctors came up to speak, they were part of supposedly Operation Warp Speed. Those doctors not only were wearing a face mask, kept the face mask, and actually contradicted some of the things Donald Trump said. For example, they said that many of these companies are only in stage 3. And there's still a clinical trial that has to be done. And he himself encouraged that any healthy Americans or Americans who wanted to participate in the trial, please become part of the trial because they're trying to find a vaccine. Pfizer has one, but there's also Moderna and a few other companies that are working on not only vaccines but different therapeutics. And many of those haven't been proven or haven't finished the stages of approval, and they're still in the trial stage. So that contradicted many of the touting and many of the self-congratulatory things that Donald Trump was saying about himself. And in fact, while Donald Trump was doing his pressure, he went off the script and started bad-mouthing Governor Cuomo of New York. For what reason? He just has to get in his digs. He has to step on somebody else to elevate himself. And he kept saying how Governor Cuomo doesn't want a vaccine in his state and doesn't want it distributed there. Well, the fact of the matter is that there still has to be some clinical trials that have to be concluded. And you just heard from the other doctor in the presser how some of these vaccines are still in the trial phase. So, as responsible as Governor Cuomo is, if you want to break down some of the statements Donald Trump said, is that no governor wants to submit the residents of their state to taking a vaccine that hasn't been proven, and we don't know what the long-term side effects are, and potentially harming those residents of the state that are decided to, oh, let's forget the trial and just take the vaccine and let's see what happens. That's besides the point. The fact of the matter is that you're supposed to give this positive outlook about Operation Warp Speed, and it became a mini rally talking about yourself and how great you are, and then you pivot and start bad-mouthing a governor from the state of New York. Is he living in your head that long that during the end of your presidency, where you try to come out with a mini rally, disguise it as a presser for Operation Warp Speed, you have to badmouth the governor of New York? Man, that dude is living in your head. Because for you to go out of your way, talk about the governor of New York, try to badmouth him and step on him to elevate yourself, to talk about how great you are, says volumes about the man that you are and the administration that you have. And in fact, he almost slipped in his press conference when he said that he hoped there's no lockdown by the future administration, but he backed off and said in future administrations. Because we know that every health expert, every scientist, every doctor is saying that one of the options that might be available for Joe Biden is a 4 to 6 week lockdown that would essentially lower that curve so prominently that it would look positively moving forward with regards to shortening the curve or flattening the curve and getting an opportunity for the vaccine to be distributed throughout the country by spring. He wanted to badmouth that decision and said, oh no, well, that's a bad decision because people will get depressed at home. People won't be able to work. The fact of the matter is that there's enough money in the government where that 4 to 6 weeks possibly of a lockdown will be supplemented by the government. That's something Donald Trump wants to do. He'd rather give the money to all his rich friends and big corporations. But the fact of the matter is, when you have economic advisors said that there's enough money in the government to provide the citizens as well as businesses to go into a lockdown for 4 to 6 weeks to flatten the curve and help the country heal. Donald Trump doesn't want to do that. And he pivots again and starts bad-mouthing that decision, making these false claims and accusations. Just pulling him out of nowhere. And you can tell he's making it up because he's not reading the script. And we know that Donald Trump, when he's not reading script, doesn't have the best vocabulary and just uses words consistently because he doesn't know what to say. He'll say it's the very best, the best that anybody's ever seen. It's very good. It's the best. It's the goodest. You know, using words that are like elementary words or something that a kid would try to use to try to impress somebody. So This Operation Warp Speed, bottom line, was just a mini rally to tell you how great he is. The fact of the matter is, the anything that he has said in Operation Warp Speed presser was said on Monday by scientists all over the world, by advisors, by health experts that have nothing to do with Operation Warp Speed. This Operation Warp Speed press conference was just an opportunity to talk about how great you are, because what he did was he set it up that he went first. He talked about how great Operation Warp Speed was, how great he was the leader of it, and how he did so many things for Operation Warp Speed, and how his administration was leading the world in fighting this virus, when we know that that's totally not true. Then he handed it over to the doctors that were part of Operation Warp Speed that contradicted everything that he said, or at least contradicted many of the things that he said. And then they gave it to the person that was supposed to be the head of Operation Warp Speed, Mike Pence. So the questions he averted was by going first and taking claim and credit for everything, was none of the people who attended the press conference, none of the journalists were able to ask him about conceding. He left and didn't come back. So that's something to think about. Keep it here on Zenny62, and I'm sure you'll hear more about this in the future days, or maybe in a few hours. Keep it here on Zenny62, and don't forget to like and subscribe.